Alright, so last step, we're onto the transmission, and this is the fun one. First step, pop this airbox cover off. I've removed the air filter. And you can see way, I don't know if we can, see if I can get focused on it. That plug right there, way on down in there, that, come on, focus. Focus. Focus, please. Please focus. That plug right there is your fill plug. Now this thing is horrendously hard to get to. So you're going to need, let's zoom out just a hair. You're going to need an enormously long extension and a T55 Torx. Now what I've done is I've already gone down in there and loosened it off. But trying to get that damn plug out of there without losing the plug is a little bit more difficult. I can't even fit my damn hand in there, so I don't even know how we're going to do this. And obviously we're going to need a good long hose to go in there for my funnel, because my funnel isn't going to fit all the way down in there. Alright, so first thing you got to do before you remove the plug is pop these two clips off the air cleaner, one there and one there. Then this guy here, that little red tab up underneath there, this is called an FCI connector. I believe that's the correct term for this. This has this little lock. You pull the lock back with a little pocket screwdriver or something like that. Don't overdo it or you'll break it. Then right underneath here is a squeeze tab. So you squeeze it and pull. Then you pop this guy out with a screwdriver or a pair of pliers. This thing's really tough to get it out of there the first time. Then you pull these two bolts out here, 1, 2, and you pull this bolt out here, number 3, and then, so you pop this guy off, you remove the air filter, and you take this guy off so you could pull this up out of the way. Then the bottom piece in here just pulls up and out of the two rubber grommets that are underneath. You pull it right out and get nice, easy access to the fill plug, which is way on down in there. Now when you're running it, make sure that you can run it without the air filter as long as you're not not letting the motor breathe in heaps of dust. It doesn't like it, I'll be brutally honest. It ran a little rough, probably because it's designed to have the air from the filter flowing through, so with the turbulence created by not having the air filter in there, probably affected the mass airflow sensor. Anywho, you need to have it running to check the fluid level properly, so that's unfortunately the way you got to do it, unless you got a really long funnel to get down there. But how are you going to fish the plug out of there, and so on and so on and so on. I accidentally took the wrong bolt off. This one here is not necessary to remove, but there's these two little push-in button-like things. So that goes into those two rubber grommets right there. And then you need to unplug the mass airflow sensor right here to give you enough room to get this up and out of the way. You are going to have to run the engine while you fill it, so you're going to have to replug that anyway. So now we got a nice clear shot of that plug right there. That is a T55 Torx. I already have it. Loosened. So all we have to do is remove it. And there we are. So that's how we fill this bugger back up. Now how we drain it is a different story. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to clean out my drain pan so we know how much fluid came out. Alright, so this thing right here is the transmission drain plug. Now the one in the center is a T45 Torx. So I've already cracked that one loose. Oh, I can see my breath. It's getting cold in here. So right there, that is actually our level indicator plug. It's a little weird on this system. Toyota's famous for doing this, and I guess Ford/Mazda hybrid, whatever, all a thorn in my side to me, does this. And I think some of the Europeans do this too, but I can't confirm that. So this guy here's got an O-ring on it as far as I know. Oh wow, that fluid is very, very dark. And yes, this does have an O-ring on it. So don't lose that. Well, that's a lot of fluid coming out of there. And now we have this enormous, and I mean enormous, plug to remove. Alright, so here goes nothing. I have this ultra enormous Allen key. I have no idea what size it is. It looks like just a piece of hex stock that has been beaten on over the years. So, she's already loose. Oh dear. I do see a very slight red tinge to it. Let's try and get that stupid aluminum washer. Why do I have a feeling that this is going to make a mess? That's because it is. Oh, lordy, that is some gross looking fluid. I hope this thing doesn't need more than 4 quarts. I might be lucky. So, as you can see, our drain plug is very long. There is a specific reason for that, and that is that the center plug... Oh, what just flew off into there? The center plug plugs the end of this tube. So as we were threading it down, the fluid level kept going below, or it kept going below the fluid level as we screwed it out, and it kept pouring out the center. Now what we do is once this is running, we fill it to the point where it starts to drool out the center here. And what that does is that sets our transmission fluid level. So there is no way humanly possible that you can overfill this if you're checking the level correctly. That is some really gross looking fluid. There's like one video on how to change the transfer case and the transmission fluid in these. And to be honest, it's not super in-depth, but they just got away with adding the same amount of fluid back, but just a hair bit more. Alright, so that should just about do it. Now, this system will probably need a flush, so I'm going to recommend that. They did just have it at Jiffy Lube, and I swear that they're trying to take them for a ride, but that's just me. So, nice and snug. You don't need to over-tighten that. It's got a gasket on it. And don't lose your little O-ring plug either. So now what we're going to do is, I got an empty milk jug over here, and I'm going to fill it up with this fluid and see how much came out. There's a Mazda dealership in Richmond, BC, which is about a 20-minute drive, so I'd rather not go there if I don't have to. There's also a Ford dealership there, but yeah. Anyway, let's fill the fluid up. Alright, so as we can tell by the milk jug that this stuff has been in there for a long time. I guarantee that it has never been serviced. So we got about, it's roughly just over 3 quarts. So we're going to start by putting 3 in. So we come up top here, and we're going to put our funnel in there and add some fluid. Alright, so we got our funnel in place, and I'm holding this the wrong way. And just kind of dump her in. Just start with 3 quarts. If I hear it trickling into the pan, I'm going to stop. Alright, so I'm just under 3 quarts in, probably 2.5. And we are drizzling out the bottom. So, we'll fire it up. Make sure you remember to plug that mass airflow sensor in. And now, we'll see if the fluid has stopped dripping. So what we're going to do is we're going to continue adding fluid until it runs out the bottom. Okay, so I've added a little bit more fluid, so we're about 3 just a bit. And we're just going to shift her through the gears. Pause in each gear. It's definitely shifting in and out of gear. You can see the RPM change when I shift gears. That's a good sign. Get it cycled through the system. So do that a couple of times. and we'll continue adding fluid until it drizzles out the bottom. So what I'm going to try and do is watch it from my camera while I'm pouring up here. Will it work? I don't know. There it goes. You can see that fluid's still kind of dark. Might be worth another change, I don't know. So once the fluid stops dripping out the fill hole, it definitely doesn't like it without the air filter. It's got a bit of a rough idle to it. If I can find it, get that damn plug. So we're just waiting for the drizzle to stop, or get pretty close to stopping. Just like that. And we will put our fill level plug in. Oops, that's the wrong socket. I better get the air filter back in this thing. It's stumbling out pretty badly. There we go. And that's a transmission service on a Mazda CX-9. Not too hard. The only thing we gotta do is go up top, put the fill plug back in, but that's not all that hard. I got a grilled cheese waiting for me in the kitchen, so I'm gonna go eat lunch first. Okay, so last thing you need to do is install your plug way on down in there. Now this guy here just pushes right down onto a couple of grommets that are down inside there, so two little plastic bulbs kind of thing that stick in there. Then you install this bolt, and this bolt. These are all 10mm. Reinstall the air filter. Now don't forget to disconnect this so that you can disconnect your mass airflow sensor in order to bend this up out of the way. Just bend it up out of the way enough for you to get at it and get that air box in there. So once it's plunked back down, put your air filter back in, put the cover back on, snap the two spring clips back in, and this guy pops back in here in this corner, and then you plug this guy in and you push this little FCI connector, this little tab back in to lock it in place. When you're just letting it run to check the fluid level, you don't have to push the tab back in. In fact, the less times that tab moves in and out, probably the better. This thing's kind of dusty because down at the cabin where this thing goes, it is really dusty down there. So that's the end of that, and we are going to do a little bonus, what's it called? Power steering fluid flushing. So, yay. That just takes standard Dexron 3 or equivalent. You can, yeah, works really well. Mercon 3, Mercon 5. It says there's a bunch of different ones in the manual. It says Dexron 2 or equivalent. Dexron 2 hasn't been made in the last umpteen years, probably 25 years or so. So Dexron 3 supersedes Dexron 2. Yeah, I'm just yammering on. Anyway, we'll do that, but first we got to get her down off these ramps so we can jack the front wheels up. So I will get onto that in just a second. Alright, so here's how we flush the power steering fluid. This is not a really difficult job. In fact, it's actually quite simple. So, you need, I would guess, probably 3 quarts of your particular transmission fluid. In this case, for this vehicle, we need Dexron 3. I know, it sounds crazy. This thing's a bastard child of all sizes and shapes, so it doesn't particularly surprise me. And you're also going to probably want a funnel. Okay, so first thing we want to do is we want to replace, oh Christ, and mess. First thing we want to do is we want to replace the fluid that's already in there. So first we'll start by sucking out all the old fluid. Now this fluid extractor is made by, I believe it's made by Midivac. I've had it for a lot of years. There's no branding left on it anymore. This thing's not holding any vacuum. There we goes. So what I like to do to start is get all of the fluid out, and we'll fill it up with fresh. So our reservoir is now totally empty. We're going to put our funnel in, and we're going to refill our reservoir back up to the maximum line again with fresh fluid. This is actually quite a big reservoir. The fact that the max and the min lines are pretty close together is kind of seems a little ridiculous to me. Okay, so the reservoir is nice and full of fresh fluid. So we put about half a quart in, I'd say. Now we're going to start the engine and we're going to spin the wheels back and forth and back and forth. All we're doing is recycling the fluid through the system. Now the trick is not to let this get too low.